Have you ever had one of those mornings where you sit on the edge of the bed, look around your room and think, when did everything start feeling harder? Maybe your knees don't bend quite like they used to, or you find yourself holding on to the walls a little more as you walk to the kitchen. You're not in pain exactly, but something feels off, a little slower, a little heavier, and maybe you brush it off. You tell yourself it's just age, right? But here's the thing no one tells you. Sometimes it's not just age. Sometimes it's the little routines we do every single day, things that feel so harmless, even healthy, that slowly chip away at our strength, our balance, our independence. And by the time we realize it, we've already started to lose control over the simple joys of daily living. Let me tell you a story. Her name was Martha. Bright eyes, silver curls, the kind of woman who still wore lipstick to the grocery store and never left the house without matching earrings. She lived alone and loved it that way, cooked for herself, paid her own bills, even trimmed her roses on Sundays. She was 80 and proud of it. But one day she slipped in her kitchen, nothing dramatic. She didn't break a bone, just a fall onto her hip. Nothing serious, she thought. But after that she didn't feel quite the same. She was a little more cautious walking down the hallway. She started using her arm to push herself out of her chair instead of just standing up. And within a few months, she stopped going to the garden altogether. By the end of the year, her daughter moved her into assisted living. No big disease, no major diagnosis, just 3 everyday routines that quietly wore her down until she lost the very thing she cherished most, her independence. And that's what we're here to talk about today, because if you're over 60, I want you to know it's not too late. You can stay strong, capable, and independent for many more years. But first, you need to know what Martha didn't. You need to understand how 3 innocent daily habits can slowly lead to decline, and what you can do today to gently turn things around. Let's start with the first one. It sounds harmless. In fact, it sounds cozy. She sat a lot. You see, Martha loved her morning routine. She'd wake up around 7, make a pot of coffee, settle into her favorite armchair by the window, and watch the neighborhood come alive. She'd stay there for hours sometimes, reading the newspaper, scrolling through photos of her grandkids on her tablet, even taking the occasional nap. It was peaceful. It was familiar. But it was also quietly draining her body of the strength it needed to support her life. Here's what many people don't realize. The older we get, the faster our muscles shrink when we don't use them. It's called sarcopenia, and it begins as early as age 50. For someone like Martha, sitting for long periods meant her leg muscles, especially around her thighs and hips, were gradually losing strength. Not overnight. Not in a way she could feel at first. But little by little, her body was becoming less stable. She didn't notice it when she stood up a little slower, or when she stopped climbing the back steps because they were just too steep. But her muscles did, and the less she used them, the faster they weakened. Now, I want to be very clear, this isn't about guilt. Sitting is part of life. We all do it, and yes, you've earned the right to rest, to enjoy a quiet morning with a cup of tea. But if sitting becomes your default, your body starts to forget how to move with confidence. Your balance slips, your stamina fades. And one day, just like Martha, you find yourself hesitating to go out alone, even to the mailbox. So what can we do instead? Start small. That's all it takes. Every hour or so, stand up and stretch, walk to the other end of the house, do a few heel raises at the kitchen counter. Just lift your heels and stand on your toes for 10 seconds. It might feel silly at first, but those tiny moments of movement can keep the blood flowing, keep the joints flexible, and remind your legs what they were made to do, support you. And if you're watching this sitting down, maybe this is your little reminder to pause the video in a minute and just take a lap around your living room. I'll be right here when you get back. Now let's talk about the second habit. It's something you might not expect because for decades you were told it was a good thing, but after a certain age it can start working against you. Martha never skipped breakfast. She believed in a hearty meal to start the day, usually toast with jam, a little cereal, sometimes fruit, and of course, coffee. It was quick, easy, and familiar. The problem? Almost every morning she loaded up on sugar and simple carbs and very little protein. Now, don't get me wrong, there's nothing evil about toast or cereal, but here's what was happening behind the scenes. Without enough protein in the morning, her muscles weren't getting the fuel they needed to stay strong. Worse, the sugar gave her a quick burst of energy, followed by a crash. That mid-morning slump. That wasn't just getting older. That was her blood sugar plummeting after a high-carb breakfast. And when your energy dips, you move less. When you move less, your muscles weaken. When your muscles weaken, your balance suffers. And once that cycle starts, it's hard to catch. But here's the encouraging part. It's so easy to adjust this. Even small tweaks can make a big difference. Martha's doctor eventually encouraged her to swap the jam for a little peanut butter, add a boiled egg, or have some Greek yogurt with her fruit. Nothing fancy, just a little protein to start the day strong. And for you, that might mean having a slice of turkey or cheese with your toast, maybe a spoonful of cottage cheese on the side, even a protein shake if you're not feeling hungry in the morning. It's not about cutting things out, it's about giving your body what it needs to support you. Think of it like this: every time you eat, you're either feeding your independence or weakening it. And you deserve meals that make you feel strong and steady, not sluggish and shaky. Martha didn't know that at first. She just thought her body was slowing down because of age. But it wasn't age. It was these small daily choices that added up quietly over time. And now I want to talk to you about something a little more personal, something that hits close to home for so many of us, but we often avoid talking about. It's the feeling of being tired all the time. Not just sleepy, but emotionally tired, mentally worn out. That fog that settles in after lunch, the kind that makes you forget where you put your keys or why you walked into a room. And it's easy to blame it on age or maybe even stress. But for Martha, and for so many others, it was actually caused by something she thought was helping her stay sharp, her daily news habit. Every morning, right after breakfast, she'd flip on the news and keep it running in the background. Sometimes it was just noise, but often it was endless stories of crime, disasters, politics, tension, and fear. And without realizing it, that steady drip of negativity was weighing on her spirit. It made her feel less hopeful, less eager to engage with the world, more isolated, more afraid to go out and do things. And when you stop engaging, stop socializing, stop being curious, your mind and body both start to shrink in response. You begin to feel older than you are. But here's the beautiful truth, that heaviness doesn't have to be your reality. You can choose to surround yourself with things that uplift you. Listen to music that moves you. Watch shows that make you laugh. Read stories that inspire, not scare. It doesn't mean ignoring the world. It means choosing what feeds your spirit. Because your mental energy is just as important as your physical strength. And every day you get to decide what you bring into your space, into your mind, into your heart. So maybe today you turn off the noise for a little while, step outside, breathe in the air, and notice something beautiful. Maybe it's the way the light falls across the floor or the sound of a bird in the distance. These little moments, they are yours, and they matter. Now I want to pause here and thank you for listening, for being here, and for caring about your well-being, because the fact that you're watching this tells me something powerful. You still believe in the possibility of living life on your terms. And that belief, right there, is the first step back toward independence. Let's keep going. The breeze outside Martha's apartment always carried a hint of lavender from the little bush growing near the gate. She used to love stepping out just to breathe it in. But as the weeks passed, she found herself sitting by the window instead, watching the world go by without stepping into it. And here's the quiet truth behind that change. It was comfort disguised as routine. There's something cozy about routine, waking up at the same time, sitting in the same chair, watching the same shows, eating the same meals. It feels safe, familiar. But when that comfort starts to replace variety, your world begins to shrink. That brings us to the third daily habit Martha never questioned. She stopped challenging herself. She wasn't being lazy, not at all. She kept things tidy, paid her bills on time, watered the plants. But slowly, all the little tasks that used to stretch her, walking to the store, trying new recipes, solving crossword puzzles, learning to use her new phone, faded away. Why? Because they took a little effort. And effort, when you're tired or discouraged or a bit unsure of yourself, feels like something to avoid. But here's what no one told Martha. Without challenge, your brain starts to slow. Your reflexes dull, your problem-solving weakens. It's like a road that isn't driven anymore. It gets overgrown and cracked. And that's the danger. It doesn't happen with a bang. It happens quietly. You avoid one new thing, then another. Then soon you're afraid to try. And when you stop trying, you start losing the parts of yourself that used to say, I can do this. One afternoon, Martha's neighbour invited her to a painting class. It'll be fun, she said. We'll just splash around and laugh. But Martha said no. She hadn't picked up a brush in years. What if her hand shook? What if she made a mess? But what if she'd said yes? That simple decision, yes or no, can open or close a door. A painting class might seem small, but it's not about the art. It's about the courage to try, to fail, to laugh about it, to stretch your mind and body in new, joyful ways. Because here's the secret. Challenge doesn't have to be scary. It can be gentle, curious, fun. Try brushing your teeth with your other hand. Learn the lyrics to a song you love. Take a new route on your walk. Call someone you haven't spoken to in a while and tell them a funny memory. Every little new thing sends a message to your brain. We're still alive. We're still growing. And that kind of growth that keeps you independent far longer than any pill or exercise plan ever will. Now, I know it can feel overwhelming, especially if you've already noticed some changes in your balance, your memory, your confidence. But let me tell you something I believe with all my heart. No matter where you are right now, you are not stuck. You are not broken. And it's never too late to shift the tide. Martha eventually did. After that fall, after moving into assisted living, after months of feeling like her life had quietly closed in on her, she met a woman named Eleanor. Eleanor was 89, nearly blind, a little bent in the back, but every morning she walked the hallways with her walker, humming old jazz tunes, and every week she hosted a tea and jokes hour in the activity room. You have to show up with a new joke, Eleanor told Martha one day, handing her a teacup. Bad ones are fine, the worse, the better, but no repeats. Martha laughed. I'm terrible at jokes. Good, Eleanor said. Then you'll fit right in. And that was the beginning. Martha started looking up silly puns on her tablet. Then she started singing with Eleanor in the hallway. One day, they even tried chair yoga together, something she never imagined herself doing. And guess what? Her balance got better, her appetite returned. She laughed more. She even started FaceTiming her grandchildren again, learning all their slang and sending them voice messages full of emojis. All because of one new habit, saying yes more often than no. So if there's something you've been putting off because you're unsure, or you're tired, or you think it's too late, let this be your gentle nudge. You don't have to sign up for a marathon. You don't have to write a novel, but you can try something new today. Something small, something silly, something just for you, because keeping your mind and body active isn't about being perfect. It's about staying present, about refusing to shrink when life still has so much to offer. And it does. It really, truly does. You are not defined by your age, not by your grey hair, or your creaky joints, or how many pills you take in the morning. You are still a person with thoughts, ideas, stories, desires, and your story isn't done being written. So today, maybe instead of sinking into the same old chair with the same old routine, you walk outside, feel the sun on your face, wave to a neighbour, try that recipe you tore out of the magazine, hum a song you loved as a teenager, or maybe just sit down and laugh at a joke, even if it's terrible, like this one. Why did the tomato turn red? Because it saw the salad dressing. Hey, I didn't say it was a good one, but if it made you smile, even just a little, that's a start. Let's keep going. There's something beautifully stubborn about the human spirit. No matter how stiff the knees or how foggy the memory, there's always a small part of us, quiet but steady, that still wants to live fully. That's the part Martha found again. After months of feeling like her world had shrunk down to a hallway and a lunch tray, something as simple as a bad joke cracked her open. It was like a window letting in light she hadn't realized was missing. And that light, it spread. One morning she decided to try walking to the mailroom without her walker, just once, just to see. She took her time, kept one hand along the wall, but when she reached that little silver box with her name on it, her heart did something it hadn't done in a while. It soared. She had done it. Something small, yes, but it was hers. That's the moment I want to talk to you about, the moment when you surprise yourself, when you do something you didn't think you could. That's when everything starts to shift. Now you might be thinking, that's a sweet story, but what does it have to do with me? Well, maybe today is the day you surprise yourself too. See, the real danger of those daily habits, too much sitting, poor nutrition, avoiding challenge, isn't just the physical toll they take. It's the way they chip away at your self-belief, at your willingness to try, at your sense of ownership over your life. But as soon as you do one thing, just one, that reminds you you're still in charge, the rest begins to follow. It's like the first domino, and no matter how small it seems, that first move sends a message loud and clear. I'm still here, I still matter, and I'm not done living on my terms. That message is more powerful than any medication, more healing than any supplement. It wakes up something inside you that's been waiting patiently for permission. So how do you find that one thing? For Martha, it was jokes and jazz in the hallway. For you, it might be something entirely different. Maybe it's cooking a meal from scratch, even if it's messy. Maybe it's calling a friend you haven't talked to in years. Maybe it's picking up a paintbrush or learning how to text your grandkids with those silly animated stickers. Or maybe it's just saying yes to something that feels just a little bit outside your comfort zone. Not far, just one step. Because the truth is, comfort is lovely, but growth doesn't happen there. Growth lives in the stretch, in the awkward, in the new, and yes, it can feel uncertain, maybe even scary. But that little flutter in your chest when you try something unfamiliar, that's not fear, that's life, that's your spirit remembering what it means to be alive. Let's not forget, you are the sum of 1,000 brave moments. The first time you rode a bike, your first day of work, that time you moved cities or got back up after life knocked you flat. You didn't get this far by staying small. So why start now? And here's something else worth mentioning. Independence doesn't always look like doing everything yourself. Sometimes it's about choosing when and how you accept help. And that's still power. That's still ownership. Martha eventually accepted help with her groceries, but she made a deal with herself. For every item someone helped her carry, she'd take an extra walk around the garden that week. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to prove to herself that needing help didn't mean giving up. There's a difference between dependence and connection, between surrender and collaboration. Asking for support when you need it doesn't make you weak, it makes you wise. It keeps you in the game longer. It gives you more room to enjoy the things you can still do. And believe me, there are still so many of those things. You can still find new music that moves you, still taste meals that make you close your eyes with joy, still share stories that make people laugh, still learn something that makes your world feel just a little bigger than it was yesterday. Every morning you wake up is another chance to choose, to move, to feed your strength, to say yes, and to gently but surely reclaim the parts of your independence that might have started slipping away, not through giant leaps, but through small, loving choices. You don't need to become someone else. You just need to reconnect with the part of yourself that's still curious, still brave, still capable, because you are. And if you ever forget, just remember Martha, the woman who lost her footing, but not her fire, the woman who found her second wind in the most unexpected way by laughing at a joke and deciding that life wasn't done with her yet. She may have needed help, but she never lost her spark. And neither have you. So whether you're watching this with a blanket on your lap and a cup of tea, or standing in the kitchen with your arms crossed, nodding quietly, know this: you are not alone, and you have more power than you think. Today, right now, you can choose to stretch a little, so walk a little, then laugh a little, try something, say yes, surprise yourself. It all starts with one moment, one choice, and you're already halfway there. Let's keep going. There's something deeply comforting about knowing that change doesn't require a dramatic transformation. It doesn't require you to become someone new or to chase youth like it's a finish line. It simply asks you to lean in, gently, intentionally, to notice where you are and decide, this isn't where I stop. That's exactly what Martha began to realize, slowly, as the days rolled by and her small choices began to grow roots. She'd gotten into the habit of walking a little further each day, not much, maybe just past the mailbox or one extra lap around the courtyard. But every time she stood a little taller. Her legs, once wobbly and unsure, began to feel familiar again, like old friends returning after a long absence. And her mornings, no longer spent glued to the news or lost in quiet loneliness. She started brewing her coffee and taking it outside, even on chilly days. She liked the fresh air, the breeze on her cheeks, the simple rhythm of being part of the world again, even in the smallest of ways. But perhaps the most beautiful change happened in her kitchen. One day she pushed her tablet aside and reached for an old recipe card, the one with her mother's handwriting worn soft with time, applesauce muffins. She used to make them when her grandchildren were small. That day her hands moved slowly but surely, measuring and stirring, the scent of cinnamon filling her apartment. She made a dozen, she ate one, she wrapped the rest in napkins and brought them one by one to the neighbors on her floor. That simple act, baking muffins, wasn't just about food. It was about participation, contribution, pride and joy. You see, when we talk about independence, it's easy to think only of the big things, driving, cooking, walking, unaided. But real independence, the kind that makes life feel worth living, is made of moments like that. Moments where you feel useful, present, involved, and that's something you still have the power to nurture. Let's pause for a moment and think about your day. Not the chores, not the appointments, but the little routines, the ones you do automatically because they're easy or familiar or just how things are. Are those routines serving you, strengthening you, or slowly making you smaller? Because here's the truth no one likes to say out loud. Some routines become cages, soft ones lined with comfort and predictability, but cages nonetheless. And you deserve more than that. You deserve to wake up feeling like your day has meaning, like your actions matter, like you're still part of something bigger than four walls and a television set. You are still someone's friend, someone's parent, someone's inspiration, and the world still needs you in it, not just surviving, but shining. Now, shining doesn't mean you need to be perfect. It doesn't mean every day will feel full of energy or motivation. Some mornings will be slow, some evenings might feel lonely. That's okay. But even on the slow days, you can choose a single act that reminds you of your strength. So maybe it's standing at the sink and washing a dish by hand instead of using the machine, just to feel the warm water and the weight of the plate. Maybe it's writing a short note to someone you love with a real pen on real paper. Maybe it's stepping outside for 10 deep breaths and naming 5 things you can see, just to prove that the world is still beautiful and you are still in it. These little acts, repeated, become new habits. And those new habits can become anchors, ones that keep you grounded in your independence, even as the years go on. That's what Martha discovered. She didn't reinvent herself. She just started asking different questions. Instead of, what's easiest, she began asking, what would make me proud? Instead of, what do I have to do today? She asked, "What do I get to do today?" That shift, tiny as it was, became everything. And I want that for you too. Because I know something about you, even if we've never met. I know you've weathered storms, you've handled disappointments, health scares, heartache, and change, and still here you are, watching this, listening, hoping, maybe even believing that it's not too late to reclaim something you thought was gone. And you're right, it isn't. You can strengthen your legs, you can nourish your body with intention, you can choose to stretch your mind with new experiences, new hobbies, or even new friendships. You can laugh again, loudly and without apology. You can be someone's light, even on a quiet Tuesday afternoon. Martha used to tell her daughter, "Don't let the calendar trick you into thinking you're done." And she meant it. Age is not the end of the story. It's a new chapter, one you get to write with clarity, wisdom, and courage. And if some routines need to be gently rewritten, if you've been sitting too long, skipping protein or avoiding things that challenge you, it's okay. That doesn't make you weak or behind, it makes you human. But now that you know, now that we've talked about it together, you have something powerful, awareness, and awareness leads to choice. You can choose to move a little more. You can choose to feed your body what it truly needs. You can choose to say yes to the next thing that invites you to stretch, to grow, to live. And if that still feels a little scary, take Martha's advice. Start with one thing, one walk, one different breakfast, one new face, one small joy, because that's how independence is rebuilt, not in leaps, but in layers. One quiet, intentional choice at a time. And I believe in your ability to make those choices. I believe in the strength that's still inside you. I believe you are not finished, not by a long shot. Let's keep going. There's something remarkable about rediscovering your own strength, not the kind that moves mountains, but the kind that gets you up off the couch, ties your shoes, and steps outside when it would have been easier not to. That kind of strength may be quiet, but it's powerful. And it's been living in you all along. Martha didn't become someone else. She just stopped believing the story that her best days were behind her. She rewrote the ending, not with grand gestures, but with the smallest choices that added up to something bigger than she imagined. And that's what you can do too. It might begin with a walk to the end of the driveway, or turning off the news for the morning. Maybe it's putting on your favorite sweater, not because you're going anywhere, but because it makes you feel good. Or maybe it's something even more subtle, like choosing to believe that you're allowed to start again. Because the truth is, independence isn't lost in one day. It doesn't vanish overnight. It fades little by little when we stop honoring our needs, our curiosity, our bodies. But the good news, that means it can be regained the same way, one moment at a time. And if you've been feeling like things have slipped a bit, like you've slowed down more than you'd like, or lost a part of your spark, it's okay to admit that. It's not weakness, it's honesty. And from that honesty, real change can grow. Martha didn't like asking for help. Most people don't. But over time, she realized that being independent doesn't mean doing everything alone. It means knowing what you need and having the courage to ask for it when the time comes. That might be a walking aid or a friend to check in on you once a week. It might be joining a class, even if you're the oldest one there. It might be telling your doctor, "I'm feeling weaker lately and I want to do something about it." Those words, that action, that's independence, that's strength. And don't forget, every time you choose to care for yourself, you're modeling that strength for the people around you. Your children, your grandchildren, your friends, they see it, they remember it, they carry it with them. There's a quiet legacy in that. You are showing them that aging doesn't mean fading. It means adapting, learning, continuing, living with intention. And here's something else I want you to hold on to. Your body is listening to everything you do. It's not punishing you for getting older. It's just responding to what you give it. If you give it motion, it gives you mobility. If you give it fuel, real food with protein and color and nutrients, it gives you strength. If you give it purpose and joy and challenge, it gives you vitality. But if you feed it stillness, sameness, sugar, fear, it will give you back exactly that. That's not judgment. That's just biology. And it means you are still in the driver's seat. You can choose a breakfast that keeps your legs moving strong. You can choose movement over stillness, even in small 5-minute bursts. You can choose a podcast that inspires instead of a TV show that drains. You can pick up a hobby, water your plants, dance to an old song in the kitchen. You can take a deep breath and say, "This is still my life," because it is. And if you're watching this and thinking, "I don't know where to start," just start with one thing that makes you feel alive, one thing that makes you feel capable. Maybe that's stretching your arms toward the ceiling and rolling your shoulders back. Maybe it's standing up right now and marching in place for 30 seconds. Maybe it's looking in the mirror and smiling at yourself on purpose. That may sound silly, but it isn't. You've earned your reflection, and you deserve to be proud of the person looking back at you. This body of yours, it's carried you through heartbreak and happiness. It's held children and memories and laughter. It has shown up for you every single day, even when you felt too tired to notice. So now maybe it's time to show up for it, not with shame, not with guilt, but with compassion, with courage. It's never too late to become stronger, to feel more stable, to reclaim parts of yourself that got buried under routine. And don't forget, you don't have to do it alone. There are people who love you, people who will walk with you, lift with you, learn with you, people who want to see you thrive, not just survive. You are part of a larger circle, even if some days you feel like the world has gone quiet. Reach out, say hello, share your story. Someone out there needs to hear it. And if you've ever worried that your life is getting smaller, let me tell you something. You are allowed to expand again. You are allowed to grow at 60, at 70, at 80, and beyond. There is still color and flavor and laughter left for you in this life. Martha found it in a hallway with a walker and a friend and a terrible joke. You might find it in a song or a sunrise, or in this very moment, watching this, nodding quietly, beginning to believe again. That's what matters. So as you go about your day today, I hope you'll ask yourself just one question. What's one thing I can do that brings me closer to the life I want to keep living? Let the answer be simple, let it be yours, and let it guide you gently toward the strength that's still waiting inside. Let's keep going. Sometimes we think of independence as something big, something obvious. Driving yourself to the store, walking without help, cooking every meal from scratch. But real independence? The kind that keeps your spirit steady, it's built in the quiet choices no one sees. It's waking up and deciding not to give in to the heaviness. It's saying, "I will not let this chair keep me prisoner." It's making that small plate of food just a bit more nourishing. Not fancy, just enough to say, "My body matters." It's daring to open your mouth and say yes when someone invites you to try something new, even if your voice shakes, even if your knees do too. That's where Martha found her power again, not by becoming someone new, but by remembering who she already was. She'd been strong all along, through raising kids, losing her husband, moving 3 times, surviving surgery, and saying goodbye to friends she loved. What tried to steal her independence wasn't some big tragedy. It was just a few unnoticed routines, a few small slips repeated each day, sitting too long, eating without fuel, saying no when life offered her something more. But here's the beautiful thing, she took it back. Not all at once, and not without a few stumbles, but she took it back. And so can you. This isn't about being the strongest person in the room. It's about choosing not to disappear from your own story. It's about deciding that just because you're older, that doesn't mean you're done growing, because you aren't. Maybe no one's told you this recently, but you are still capable of building something meaningful with your days. You are still someone with value to offer, memories to share, wisdom to pass on. You still have a role to play in the lives of those who love you, even if they don't always say it. And even more importantly, you still have a life to live for yourself. So if there's something in your routine that's been quietly holding you back, if you've been sitting too long, eating what's easy instead of what's good, turning away from the world instead of leaning in, this is your moment. No judgment, no shame. Just a quiet invitation to choose again, to stretch, to nourish, to connect, to smile at a stranger on your walk, to dance in your kitchen to a song no one else hears, to laugh at your own terrible joke just because you can, to be alive, fully, intentionally, unapologetically. You don't have to be perfect. You don't need a list or a plan or a miracle. You just need the willingness to meet yourself where you are and to take one small step forward, one meal, one movement, one moment of joy. And when you string enough of those together, that's how independence returns, not in a blaze, but in a warm, steady glow. The truth is, you are still here. You are still writing your story. And the next chapter, it can be anything you want it to be. So thank you for staying with me through this video, for listening with an open heart, for believing even just a little that things can change for the better. If this message resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your story in the comments. Tell us what's helped you stay strong, or tell us where you're starting today. Someone out there might need to hear your voice. And if this video helped you in any way, please take a second to like it and subscribe to the channel, not just for the numbers, but because this is how we keep showing up for each other, with stories, with truth, with hope, because we need more of that in the world. And as always, wherever you are, I hope you feel proud of yourself for still showing up, for still learning, and for still believing in your own strength. Here's to living your best life at any age, and here's to you. Take care. You're not alone on this journey, and you never were.